Susanna, it's an absolute pleasure to see you. How are you?
I'm doing super well. I'm really happy to be here with you.
I'm so happy you're here with me. And
Mm.
I got to give context to the viewer, the listener, because we had recorded a conversation not long
Mhm.
ago, maybe a couple of months ago, and um, and the subject is still the same. We're still going to be talking about the same thing. We're talking about, in a nutshell, spiritual bypassing.
Yep.
Um, but what's funny is you reached out. I've had a Ken show, and I said to you, no problem with your side, but I feel like it would be worth revisiting because of where I am and how things have shifted for me. And we've just been chatting for a little bit before we started recording, and it's just so interesting, as I said to you, that I experience you completely differently. I can
Mm.
sense, without having to ask, that stillness in you in a way I couldn't before. And
Yeah.
I just want to note that, like, I think that's really kind of amusing.
Very sweet. Well, stillness recognizes itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Is that
happy.
normal?
Is that normal?
Yeah, to have that change in discernment in the way, because in
Of
the way I've just.
course. We especially as awakening deepens and becomes embodied, it gets so normalized and it's easily missed by others. It's easily missed unless one knows for oneself or has touched on stillness and presence. It's easily missed. So you're not missing
Well,
it anymore.
no, definitely not.
Yeah.
And so, can we start there then? Actually, could you just share a little bit about your awakenings?
Hmm. Well, there's been several, and more than two. And I like how you put awakenings because it's such a journey, and it's just for me, it's not just been one bang. It's been a combination of slow kind of easing into what's true and having awareness settle, awareness being aware of itself settle until it just kind of the gap closed between being aware of awareness, being here all the as much as possible, and have that gap close within one's life, within my life. And when it was done, that was that kind of non-dual sort of awakening that took place, where emptiness and form meaning this life, became merged, and there was no more confusion. And so I would say that was that slow kind of easing because it was coming and going. It would like I it would be the awareness of itself would be here fully, and then it would kind of go recede. And I think the content in my life, like my emotions and psychological self and all that, needed to kind of be prepared to always have this be interconnected, the oneness of it. And so when it finally happened, it was like, I could finally just rest, and the seeker was done. The seeker was done, and that was in my early 30s. But since my early 20s, I had been doing this dance. This dance had been taking place where the awareness was presence was here, and presence ebbed, and so I was doing this hide and seek dance with myself. And but I have to say there was an awakening to emptiness prior to. So everybody has the the stages that awakening can take place. It's going to be unique to the person. And
Mm.
so for me, as presence was becoming more and more settled here, there was at one point there was this huge journey into and inquiring into who am I. It was a spontaneous desire. The yana path just emerged, and wanted to know what it's mine wanting to know what it is in truth, and so I call it mind woke up to itself. So mind, the first real awakening that was so profound was awareness becoming aware of itself permanently within mind, right? But then it wanted to do another journey, it wanted to know itself as that throughout the system, as like maybe a heart awakening, you could call it,
Hmm.
which to me was the real non-dual awakening. It was deeper than mind. You know, everybody will have their words. The paradox of reality, the paradox of emptiness and form resolving itself, and not in an abstract witness cool toned way, but in an embodied way. To me, that was the real non-dual awakening. And then after that, those were the two primary awakenings. And then after that is just the continuous unfolding of awakening. To me is then a verb. So something is done with awakening. There's a doneness, maybe that stillness that you sense, you know, a doneness. But then there's more dunning, a verb, happening, more awakening, more deepening. And to me, that is ongoing, honestly,
Sure.
Simon. So that's
Yeah.
ongoing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's in a
Beautiful.
nutshell. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I understand that. I liked what you said about the heart, and because prior to what happened recently,
Mm.
um, yeah, there was a lot of like focus on awareness, let's say, and what, yeah, I'll just say that. And then it was very experiential, but then a real heart opening, and my heart has been shut for a long time for various reasons, seeming reasons. Um, and I think that's been the nice thing is, particularly with, for example, my wife and kids, is loving without agenda. And you
Mm.
realize that like most what people would call love is codependency, at least to some degree. You know, some
Yeah.
really powerfully so, and
Yeah.
destructively so. But then it gets subtle, and I think,
Mm.
and so for me, that open-heartedness went alongside non-reactivity. Um, and so, what I've just said there is when you spoke about the heart, is that, does that resonate with what you just said?
Yeah. So the mind, you know, and people can have a heart awakening first, but for me, really, they were kind of toggling. But the mind really needed to know what it was. It looked and it discovered that it was, you know, emptiness. In fact, it's not a thing. And then the energy and the attention, which is the natural evolution of awakening, for me at least, was to go to the heart. And the heart is where unity is known. It's not just a mental awareness that we're all one. It's a felt experience, and it's an intimate experience of knowing that we are.
Yeah,
And loving without agenda, right? Loving
exactly.
unconditionally gets to be understood, and also the embrace of the conditional heart of like, oh, you know, it's so understandable. There's been pain here. You know, there's been wounds, there's been betrayals, there's, you know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yeah,
And
totally.
any little bit of victim energy and all that stuff wants to be reconciled and come back home and be embraced by wholeness. So that's the journey of the awakening of the heart, as I
Yeah,
see it, which just
yeah,
sounds like what you're on.
yeah. Like, and that's been the really beautiful thing. And then that to me then is directly correlates with that centeredness and the stillness in a way that the mind cannot. Um,
Exactly. Well, that's that which is unmoving inside is permanently when it's done, it's done.
hmm,
It's just like when the light bulb goes off in the mind and it knows itself as that.
yeah,
It,
yeah, yeah,
it's done even if thoughts come and go. And
yeah,
you know, so when the heart realizes its nature, that it is life itself, when it really, really gets that, then that reconciliation of being in sync within life and folded into it. We're finally home there, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge for
Yeah.
also the animal nature of our bodies. They just so need that touchstone of not feeling separate from life. It's very
Yeah.
unsettling.
Yeah. 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 And then
Mm.
yes, sorry, it's
Yeah,
so nice
take
to
your
speak.
time.
No, but it's so nice to speak to you about this because I want to get on to bypassing and embodiment
All
and
right.
everything. But
If we get there, if not, going to change the title. No, I'm just
no, no.
joking.
But but what was I going to say? Oh God, again, this is, as I said to you, this is one thing that I've noticed is the degree to which my mind goes, but I trust it to come back. It is
Mm.
oh yeah, that's it. Is It's like the locus of attention has moved from, let's say, here. And so, yes,
Yeah.
there are still thoughts and even reactivities come back a little bit, but it's non-sticky. And then as soon as I disengage, shoom, it's like this. It's my locus of attention is sort of here, whereas it absolutely used to be here.
Right. Right. Right.
And little experiential stuff like, it used to take me ages to go to sleep. Now I'm just like doof, and not,
Yeah.
the very
It's
little
weird.
dreams. And yeah,
Mm.
that's just, sorry. Right, we will
No, no,
dive
no.
on. Yeah, go on.
It's natural. But look, um, it's part of the conversation interwoven in there is how stillness is kind of what you really opened up to is still swallowing. It's kind of still swallowing up itself. It's still like going bloop and going into that stillness because everything that's unnecessary is going to want to disappear.
And I'm seeing that on the
Yeah.
external and the internal.
Yeah, and fabulous that you're trying to talk while doing it. I just kind of went offline for a while.
Yeah, yeah. No, but
Yeah.
that's, yeah. I do want to do it because I feel like I do want to. I do want to share because it's fresh, and I don't want to pretend. Plus, this is a segue into what we want to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Plus, when
Yeah.
we hopped on the call initially, and you said, "Oh, I'm glad you've had a shift, and um, your life will have a new direction." And my reply was, "No, I'm really pleased that it hasn't." And because I still, let's say, with my coaching, which is informed by all the years of work I did to love the small self. Not in an egoic way, but in terms of stopping abandoning myself, is how I would describe it.
Yeah.
Um, that hasn't changed. If anything, I
Mm.
mean, it's deepened, but I'm even more convinced of the value of it. And a lot of people now pipe up and say things like, "Oh, awakening, there's nothing more to be done," or and
Mm.
my view is no. My view is, well, it depends where you are, but I still know people who I'm sure and I know have gone through deep shifts, but still abandoned themselves somewhat on a human level. And to me, cleaning up our mess. What is it, the Ken Wilber quote of
Wake up, clean up.
"Wake up, clean up"? Right? That's it. And so for me, I think abandoning ourselves in terms of, for example, right, denying our shadow, um, overlooking our needs or overlooking others' needs, um, saying no when we really know we should be saying yes when we should be saying no. Just all these ways that we have learned, these adaptive patterns that we all learn early, that
Mm.
then impact us and the people around us in negative ways often, in this human life. And so, like, I'm still absolutely sure, to me, that is embodying the understanding, the recognition, the shift. And to me, as per our first conversation, that is, I don't think, given anywhere near enough acknowledgement in spiritual circles. And so then what do you think of that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's like so post awakening on this kind of type of awakening, right? A real thing, a real thing that is meant to be abiding, meant to be interweave and live and help liberate all these shadows still, but stay awake. It's still awake within itself. Um, it's kind of like, honestly, it's like a divine vacuum cleaner. and it's just going to
Hmm.
go and vacuum up all these pieces that don't belong in there. But what the common ingredient that helps this to really take place, so one is not in denial or in wanting to transcend the pain, and the what makes it to where it stays, it really has a chance to do its work. Let's put it that way. Its potential, its evolutionary potential, is for one, and we spoke about this earlier, you and I off camera, is humility, and to just be always stay in the humble as much as possible innocence, that one is this is an ongoing thing, and there's no true final arrival. To not put one's flag on the awakening moon and say, I've arrived, and that's that, as you put it earlier. That's awakening, and that's that. No, actually, that's the start. That's the beginning of this potential of what being a human is really about, what it can be. That's how I
Yeah,
see it.
yeah, and so that's why, you know, I'm really pleased that this work of turning towards my own patterns and seeing how they play out in dynamics with family or whatever it might be. This
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 13 years, and so it just so happens that then this shift happened, not long ago. Um,
Mm.
but the work I was doing that before that, when I would have what sounded like you would describe that kind of mental awakening, like knowing on that level, but with not feeling it or not experiencing it, let's say. Um, and
Exactly.
and so I think that a lot of people are like. In fact, here's something I've noticed is a lot of people chase awakening
Hmm.
because they think they're drawn to it as a way to bypass or avoid their stuff, their traumas, their patterns, etc. That's something
Yeah.
I really notice.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, is that
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're suffering is a great motivator, huh?
yeah.
Yeah. If you really get lucky, the real thing bubbles up. What it's really about, what seeking really is meant to be about, which is the desire to go home and to remember what's true, and that the avoiding suffering and wanting to have it as an escape, use it as an escape to being here, to saying yes to being here. It's hard to be here fully. It's hard. It's for many, it's hard
Mm,
based on one's past and based on life currently. So we want a way out. And so we hear about awakening. And then we think that's the exit door to all this pain, right? And sometimes it'll give us a little grace, and it'll create a buffer, to be able to have some exit in order to spur you on, to keep you on track, so that you continue really chasing what's really true in this, wanting to exit. What's really true is that the human created suffering, there's something not true about it. There's something not true about it. And so we have to wake up to that, to the spirit, to that which is free inside, in order to be able to really be here and then come back and hopefully with the refuge and the support of what's always here and what's true, supporting and helping one be able to be here and meet the content,
mm,
right? So we want to escape the content. But there's something true to it. There is something within it that to be able to find the nugget of what's true in there. What's true is that there really is something open and free that one can open to and
mm,
realize.
yeah.
But then it's meant to be able to, be lived and integrated into this divine mess that is also here, right? Do you see it that way?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I like the way you put that divine mess. Um,
yeah.
because I've really noticed this so clearly. I mean, I think that I've recorded a video recently about the cosmic joke, and as I said to you again before we recorded, 2 days after my shift, I was meditating and I wrote down this long list of X, Y, Z had happened that led me there, and but at the same time, the paradox being that it was always just happening, and even in the last week, even in the last 4 days, like the divinity and the order under the seeming mess has become so obvious, and
Mm.
that is it doesn't make it less messy, and it doesn't make it, particularly for those around you. I think seeing directly that, like, it's okay is really nice, um
Yeah.
but but then there's still, I think that I don't think saying that helps people who haven't experienced that, and that, I suppose, is what my point is it's
Yeah.
rare. And so the humane element and the humanity of it is meeting people where they're at, and like walking the talk of this. And I think to walk the talk of this, if you're drawn to it, and if you even have that understanding level, you can walk the talk of this to the best of your ability. Um, and I, rather than underemphasize that now, to me, it's even needs emphasizing even more. Is, to me, that's the work, if you want to call it that, is embodying this. Sorry, can I just add one other thing? I remember speaking to one teacher, and I was speaking about integrity, and it's something that is important to me. And anyway, we sort of gotten into to or fro about it, but to me, integrity is in alignment with truth. So of course, integrity is important. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I just wanted to add that in.
Well, I loved how you put teacher in quotes.
Yeah.
That says a lot. Um, let's see. I'm not sure what you're wanting me to reflect on. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. What I want you to reflect on is just again emphasizing that is the embodiment of this understanding wherever you happen to be. Is the
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love that you are bringing this up because, just as you were working on yourself for 13 years intensely, consciously, before this understanding, this unity understanding came through, the way I see it, is that all that has effect. So, whomever is listening to this, wherever one is at, whatever one is bringing harmony, harmonizing inside, looking at consciously, opening up the door to healing, not in an obsessive way, hopefully, but in a way that is true, that sensing what's really here to be met and looked at and get support for if one needs. All that is, it really is a lot of groundwork for when understanding comes in, realization comes in. It's like it doesn't have to go through that all that. It's like it supports the embodiment from this moment forward, right? And then whatever is remaining that is wishing to be seen, it's like so much gets taken care of by grace. So much just goes poof. And like, where did that go? But then whatever is still here that wants to be met consciously is like, no, we're not gonna, this is needs to be actually felt into with this newfound awareness that everything is that. So,
Mm.
as knowing everything is that, this piece that was born out of separation and confusion, right? Pain, whatever, it wants to come home and lay in that wholeness and be alchemized and supported, knowing itself as that now as well.
Mm.
And it'll bubble up. It's not we have to go searching for it. Like before realization, oftentimes it's like, well, where am I supposed to put my attention on this healing? If one is developing intuition, one can know that. And then once understanding has come in, realization, in this way, then it's just like it just moves forward. It just goes bloop, 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 bubbles up, boop, boop, boop. Now this. And what it's doing, Simon, as you well know, what it's doing is that this light of awareness, understanding this that it is everything, is making its way through the whole system, so all of this can know it and live it and 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 be it and vibrate it, right?
Mm.
And so this is an ongoing process of creation, knowing itself as that here, through you, through here, me, through everyone who has this understanding. And so that's why I feel like it's just like a verb. It just goes on, like it's still happening here.
Yeah.
Especially as one encounters life, there's always new moment to be here fully, a new moment, you know.
Yeah. 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 I see that. Um, a, a few people were, when I put my video out after it, a few people said, well, you've got the Dark Knight coming next. And maybe that's true, but I don't know. And, but I feel like, there has been a lot of that done, let's say on the emotional level prior. But what I've noticed, I was thinking about this yesterday, is I could see a Dark Knight on the situational level because, in sort of dynamics and those kind of things, I could potentially see that, again, whether it does or not, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, as you say, it's that meeting life, right? Like life will always have something up its
Oh
sleeves
yeah.
to, you know?
Well, it doesn't have to be a dark night when there's the light of awareness that's really it's landed inside. It's like there's a lantern. If there is a dark night, is it really a dark night then? It's just self meeting self.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, I've got a short question for you.
Yeah.
So, spiritual bypassing.
Mm.
What is your take then on spiritual bypassing, the prevalence of it in spirituality, and the degree to which a light needs to be shone on it and is being shone on it at the moment?
Well, spiritual bypassing, in my experience, is something that happens before awakening and after awakening. It can happen. So, where one is using the idea of spirituality and what one is going to get and get out of suffering before awakening, that would be um, chasing after enlightenment in order to feel better. And of course, that's part of the motivation. It's not like to make that wrong. I'm sure we all did that. But there's also a truth, as I mentioned earlier, of a true seeker that's born, and the seeker is meant to be reunited with its own beloved. The seeker is born because of separation, the separation that causes suffering. So separation itself causes suffering, and a lot of people will project onto God, onto spirit, onto awakening, a lot of projections, a lot of ideas and beliefs of how it's going to make their life better. They'll be in a constant flow state, and there'll never be any suffering left, and everybody, they'll just glow like a little light bulb, and everyone will notice, and you know what I mean. It'll just make everything so much better, and that's a bit immature. It's understandable, and we all have experienced it, but it's that gets sobered up over time. And as one realizes that presence, truth, is not here to save you, it's liberating on its own because it is free. It is just free. And so there's just this understanding over time through repeated dips into that, repeated dips into one's being, that there's something true and real about it. right? But the human condition part, that still has to be um, open to. The human
Mm.
condition part, it will, a lot of it will get supported through deep realization. It's like an organic kind of washing machine. But it doesn't save one from being here. It doesn't take away one's past. It might cleanse it a bit with, like, truth can come through and say, was that really true the way that you believe that happened, you know?
Mm. Yeah.
Insight can come in. But those motivations of wanting to be saved, a lot of that is projecting wounds, one's mama's wounds and papa wounds and childhood wounds and betrayals onto God and saying, take care of this for me, you know? And that's not really what happens. That's not what happens. But that part of the sobering up process is realizing that isn't what happens. And it's actually very empowering to be left with the truth, is that truth is truth. And now you get to be brave and courageous and a spiritual warrior in a way and meet the content that's here with that support, with that support.
Mm.
So that's before awakening. You spiritual bypassing can be that one is projecting onto truth all these things that I just mentioned, all these elements, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And going into the transcendent in order to avoid living this life, in order to avoid the pain of the suffering, avoid relationships and the existence, the existential angst. After awakening, very similar, but it's like the stakes get placed higher, okay? And that razor's edge takes place, the razor's edge. It's like, do you want truth for its own sake? And that happens before too, as one gets closer to awakening, closer. You tip over into, what do you want? Is truth for its own sake or truth because of what you want out of it? Truth for its own sake, if that's really what you want, you tend to get it. You tend to get it. So you're not veiling reality with your desires. You tend to get what's true. After awakening, shadow stuff is really, and humility and being willing to say, you know what, there's still, I'm not, cooking is still happening. If you
Yeah.
say I'm all the way cooked and I'm done and popping out of the oven and I'm like ready to be served up to life, to others as a teacher, just in my life, and just say, this is it, I'm done, and I plant my flag on the moon, boom, I'm done. Then the evolutionary piece of what wants to take place has been stymied, and awakening is not going to go to the depths of what the invitation is. It's like, oh, okay, you just want to just ignore the fact that you still you want power. You love the attention. You love having lots of people notice that how awake you are now. Or you're so much better than the people in your life, you're free, you're just like, those people are in the mud and you're just in the light. And like, that is maybe a passageway that one needs to go through. But maybe if it doesn't go through properly, Simon, maybe that's when the dark night hits, because everybody's going to have challenges. But does it turn into a dark night? That it depends on how you meet the challenges, with humility and willingness to be on your knees for a while and go, you know what, baby Buddha, still a baby Buddha, and now maybe a teenage Buddha, reacting to, the fact that there's more content here. So stay humble. If people stay humble and like, oh gosh, I messed up there, I want to clean that up, I need to say that in a better way, it can still happen. And it will
Mm-hmm.
happen. We're human. The human being gets purified and refined over time. And unless it's given that card, of like the Joker card or the Fool card, I'm still a fool. In some way, some corner of the universe, I'm always going to be a fool. Like, I'll fall. and be naive, you know? So, yeah, so that's where I think spiritual bypassing is like still possible in both states of consciousness, those both dimensions. Does that resonate? I know that was a long,
Yeah, no, it does. I'm interested then
yeah.
how you, let's say, meet someone or work with someone in terms of their humanity. Because before we started recording, we were talking about gurus and teachers, and and you even resisted the use of the word teacher for a long time.
Yeah.
You were a mentor, and I think a
Yeah.
few people, because I'm still coaching, people have latched onto that. And I got one email recently of someone saying, well, anyway, criticizing that. But the thing is, what I'm doing, I don't claim to. I'm still doing the same thing I was doing before, but it's just deeper and from a different place, which is the patterns which I was doing for 13 years, right? For me personally. Um, so I'm very clear on that. But you are more of a spiritual teacher. So yeah, I wonder, in terms of that humanity and clearing up that mess, or let's say where people are abandoning themselves, or those childhood wounds or whatever, how do you meet someone and try and help them on that level?
Hmm. Not very in the moment intuitively, and with lots of years of experience now, lots of years of psychological, emotional, mental health stuff for myself and with others, working with them. But how I meet them is just in this hope, hopefully with the two wings of the bird active, which is one wing is it's empty and free, and the other wing is that it knows that everything is divine, including the suffering that's taking place. So you need both to be able to fly properly, or you're going to go in a weird circle. So the two wings of the bird are needed to be activated. And so the way that I meet people is just through the heart a lot, and then just the intuition. But I don't if I feel like they need some somatic work or some good therapy or some trauma therapy, I point them in that direction about half the time. At least I do, in some way, especially body a type of body work, that like cranial sacral therapy, something that helps the nervous system make space up for this, for that which is overfilled. It's just on fight or flight inside. If someone that I'm working with has too much has an overwhelmed nervous system, and they're not able to open to presence because of it, because it's like it keeps eluding them. They hold on a bit, and then it eludes them because the nervous system is too overwhelmed and activated. And so consciousness is always going where attention is going. And if it's too activated, it's like it gets veiled again. Presence gets veiled. So I'll point them in the direction, and they can work simultaneously with me. It's not like they have to go and do that first, but some do and come back. But sometimes we work at the same time, where we're opening the door to presence and feeling into it, sensing into it, and how safe it is to open to it, while they're maybe in their life getting some help for their overwhelmed system. So
Yeah.
that's, in general, that's, to me, they can piggyback on each other really well, to where someone's getting psychological help at the same time. But I play many parts, but I won't be just a therapist, because my gift and my purpose, my joy, is to be able to have both be activated, be active, the human possibility and the spirit understanding.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Um, yeah, I feel very grateful with my wife, for example. Like, so she's very energetically gifted. Reiki,
Yeah.
Rohani, sound. She used to do all sorts of Reiki healing on me.
Oh,
Um, and that's such a lovely compliment. Is
yeah.
I feel like we fit together in that way.
Yeah,
You know, and
beautiful.
in
So
time we
she's
want to.
energetically very sensitive, huh?
Oh yeah, like hugely. Like
Yeah.
she's picked up on a few of the red flags way before me. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, and I think in time that's what we want to do. Is and just as an aside, I feel like I don't see. I like the idea of Alex and myself doing that kind of as a couple because you know because we are so grounded in family life and blah 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 all
Mhm.
that stuff. I just I don't
Yeah.
see a lot of that.
No, and it's so important for people to see both and the honoring of the feminine too, Simon.
Big time, yeah, well,
The
which is
honoring of the
yeah,
feminine. To bring that forward and to say like Adyashanti with his wife Mukti.
yeah,
She's so much more quiet. I know them both. And she's so much more quiet and deep, like quiet stream and so unspectacular on the out, like he's more charismatic. It's just personality types and energy types. But I'm not saying there's at all a hierarchy of awakening there. It's just that different. And he is really, wanting to bring forward the importance of the yin and the feminine and
yeah,
value it in this day and age, which is
100%.
so beautiful. So yeah, I
Which
applaud
I
you
think,
in that.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, just to say about that yin, like I feel like that is as well. That is the essence of the embodying for me. It is the uh, the felt sense and
Yeah,
yeah, like the yin and to me like really
absolutely.
goes
Yeah.
more hand in hand.
So important for the felt sense, the intimacy, the opening up to the unknown. All that takes us like a falling back into surrender, letting go into what is here. It's very different from the forward leaning doer. I mean,
Mm,
all of them, we all contain obviously
of
both,
course, yeah, yeah, sure, yeah,
right? So yeah, but to and then we have our personalities. Not all women are just all yinned out, there's all
yeah,
kinds.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But anyway, you said something earlier about red flags, and nobody has an idea of what you were talking about, by the way.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
I
okay,
don't, I'm not
okay,
saying we have to go there, but it was kind of like, it was like this little, what? What was it? What are they
okay,
talking about?
okay. Well, I'm not going to say too much.
No, no, but you could put it in the context of the spiritual bypassing that this can happen too, no matter
Yeah,
who it is.
yeah. Well, I'll say this. Um,
Yeah.
I will say this is that an important lesson I learned was putting people on pedestals, and um, and I think some non-dual teaching can be quite dismissive of the human and dismissive of psychological pain. And it was Alex who spotted that in a couple of instances before me. And in
Hmm.
hindsight, I was like, oh yeah, like, yeah, that's
I
that's
see.
true. And I think that's been really important for me. Again, that has further emphasized for me what we're talking about here, which is the human level. I sometimes talk about like the human. I was saying this before as well, as in before what happened, human and being. Foot in both,
Mhm.
recognizing the presence, the universe, the divine, whatever you want to call it, and the human side. And to me, it is
Yeah.
like it is you call it the razor's edge, right? It is a dance.
It's a
Um,
dance. Yeah, that's the
and,
word I was thinking. Yeah.
yeah, it is a dance, and yeah, and it's just I'm so grateful that has not shifted. That's not changed that view at all. And I do
Mhm.
think it's a message I'm very passionate to talk about. And I feel like I
Yeah,
can talk about it
beautiful.
with more authority now because of shift I've had, and seeing, no, I'm still adamant to this. Because some people say, for example, right, there was one person who said, who will remain nameless, who said something like this: I was in a relationship with, I had two marriages and I broke down. And what did I learn from them? I learned nothing, because there is no self to learn anything. And to
Whoa.
me, yeah, like to me, that's like
Wow.
nihilistic neo-advaita nonsense. Um, like, I'm sure you learnt to tie your shoelaces. Like what's the difference? Okay, like at an absolute level, fine, I get it. Yeah, of course, it's all just happening. But like, even when you've seen that, and I have seen that, like that's not how I live my life. On a
I'm
day.
gonna say something funny.
Go up,
It's
go.
likely that there's going to be a third divorce if there's been no learning.
Yeah, right. Like
I'm
like
just saying,
absolutely.
you got to keep growing and learning.
You've got to keep growing, and yeah,
Yeah,
and and turning towards your patterns, and this idea that, oh, you I watched another video recently of, see it, just drop it. It's not that simple, because a lot of the
right.
time, the easiest person to fall is yourself. And
Oh, for sure.
and the shadows, we can tell a story about, oh, this is what led to this and what's led to that. And then you dig in,
Yeah,
you're like, hang on, well, there's this whole other bit over here that you're not even acknowledging. Um,
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and yeah. So
And then
that,
it just hurts at some point, Simon, as you said
yeah.
earlier before we went on. Something Adya said maybe that it just hurts to
Mm,
not be in integrity and truthful here.
yeah.
At some point, it just dang hurts, and why would you want to do that?
Yeah. Okay. So what about that line then, where people do say, well, realization is knowing there's no me. And therefore, who is it that's doing any of that growing up? Like, what would be your riposte
Oh,
to?
oh, it's so simple. That's duality right there, saying that there's no integration of that the line gets erased. There's no line. Spirit and form are one. That's what in Buddhism they say. It's like spirit and form are one. Emptiness and form are one. Two, one whole, actually, not a line. So it's like this. It frees itself up. It frees up what doesn't know that.
Yeah.
So all the content that is confused about that gets to be made conscious.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcoming. You said earlier, you asked me about my work with people, and it just came to me while you were talking. One thing I left out was that how I meet people is with this allowance of welcoming, that there's the light of consciousness is just embracing what is showing up right here all the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Right. Like, is loving what's here. Right. That's so beautifully put. That's exactly it. Bec- so many people I speak to will still have a sort of judgment, or I shouldn't have this feeling, or there's some kind of resistance, subtle resistance coming on. But as you say,
Yeah.
it's like a loving all of it, like literally all of it. Like everything wants to be loved, right? Like the darkness,
Yeah.
the light, like that's it, because it is all love. I know that's
Yeah.
corny, but
That's it.
that's how I see it.
No, no. And you keep going through that threshold in the doorway that it's all love and bring it on. There's no, what has been completed and done is in movement within what is still needing completion and doneness. It's shining the light and walking and embracing and loving.
Lovely. Susanna, I feel like we've covered most of what I want to cover, if I'm honest.
Okay.
Is there anything on this subject around, balancing the dance of the human and the being, and um, the nonsense of, oh, there's nothing to do and there's nothing to clear up? Is there anything else that you feel like we haven't touched on?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Let's see. Well, just to reiterate, maybe even just that there is something that gets done. There is something that is always free, and and it's we're not poo-pooing that truth. It's just that that truth merges with what is is the vibrational energy essence of nothing. So nothing becoming something, and they dance together. And this one wants to free this, whatever's in confusion about it, and this one, what is divinized form, is always embracing that which is always free. They're both.
Mm.
They both
Mm.
become one whole.
Mm.
And
Mm.
consciously, they already are, but they become that consciously. And what I wanted to just maybe just say in terms of spiritual bypassing, and to just for people to maybe take away, one thing to take away, there's probably lots of things we spoke about, hopefully, is that it's not to make anything wrong, right? It's just to take, the invitation is take a look and see, what am I using? Am I using spirituality in any way to be saved or freed from what's here? And just to be honest about it is not to make it wrong. And then to look again and say, is there something here that wants truth for its own sake versus what it'll give me?
Mm. Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then another further piece is that if one is just as an educational tool, because part of what you and I are doing is education, hopefully, and becoming educated still here, is as an as an educator, one of the things that I want to support other people in is be able to see for themselves what they're doing here, but also to see it in others, and see, especially in the models and the people one might have on a pedestal, which, by the way, is already a sign that that's not so good to have someone on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Just to look at it, because there may be some blindness, some naivety, some blindness to what's in shadow there, and it's not to make them wrong, right, or to tear them off the pedestal in no sense, but just realize that it can happen to anyone, however awakened they are, that there is maybe some holdout and shadow and some hiding. And of course, there'll be. But is there a willingness to be humbled? Is there a willingness in them? And to see that that really is a wonderful model, is to see in others the willingness to continue to grow and to shine a light on what's unconscious inside. Those are the models we want, because that's how I want to live too.
Mm.
That's just
Mm.
my parting piece. Do you have anything to add to that?
I do. you
Mm.
you you fired my mind up. I might have been premature.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
so so with awakening, obviously, there's this paradox of, well, it was always just happening, but in my view, spiritual practice, self-inquiry, emotion inquiry is still valuable. And you've got to be able to kind of juggle both of those at the same time. And if I look back, I'm a bit neurodiverse, and so I hop around from one thing to the other. Tried lots of things, and there's a couple of things. First of all, it started out for me absolutely on the spiritual path as a way out of suffering. That was absolutely clear. It wasn't a desperate like a desperate quest for truth. It was I want the suffering to end. And then the truth aspect grew a lot more. And now that's the fundamental thing. And the suffering is sort of seen as, I'm very grateful for all of it, even though it was always just happening. But so for me, the most important spiritual work I did, sorry, the reason I'm chuckling is because the caveats all over the place, right? But the most important spiritual work I did was the emotional work, was in relationship with my wife was setting boundaries, was seeing where I was abandoning myself and doing something different. Like that was the most important work I did. And that's why I'm so kind of passionate about it. So what am I saying here? Well, I'm saying that it can start out with, you know, and I think it invariably starts out with a desire to escape suffering, doesn't it?
Well, it for some, it's the pain of separation in whatever form. It's like it's calling one home. So it can be a desire for escaping suffering, or it could be just more of a more, let's say, closer to home, to truth, that being in separation hurts, and I want to resolve this. Yeah.
Mm.
So either way, there's suffering.
And what about what I just said about emotional work actually as a valuable work to do, as a precursor, a potential precursor to an awakening? Because you
Oh
don't hear
yeah.
that much. You don't hear that
Well,
much. People talk about meditation and self-inquiry, but you don't hear emotional inquiry much. When I think it's the most important thing.
yeah. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I touched on that earlier when I said all this work that you do, it supports you when awakening takes place. You have less content to have to go through. So yeah, absolutely. Whether as a precursor or just in its own right, it's extremely valuable, and it's probably helped you tremendously. You have less to mud to wade through.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I felt like the mud was never ending, and then,
yeah,
but then well, how fortunate was I, right? Like, wow.
yeah.
Um, anyway, right. Well, look.
Anyway, I didn't mean to take away some of that impact of what you just shared, because you're absolutely right that all that work is a precursor that, you're right, doesn't get mentioned often.
Great. And I didn't think you did take it away, by the way, at all.
Okay, all
So
right.
don't.
See,
Yeah.
see, here's truth just working in the moment, right? Going, don't want to cause harm, don't want to hurt.
Sure. Sure.
Immediately,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, listen. It's been so. I'm so glad we rearranged. It's been so affirming for me on so many
yeah,
levels. It really has
yeah,
been lovely. It's staggering to me, as I said at the start, how different my experience of this is. Um,
wow,
and
me too, by the way, Simon.
okay, great.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
well,
our conversation has so much life and depth to it and sparkle in my experience here.
great.
Yeah, so many layers of connecting.
Can I just share
Yeah,
a
please.
little sort of image that came to mind? You're probably not a Star Wars fan, but I am. And I was recently watching Empire Strikes Back when my kids weren't hogging the TV. It was just, I don't know what brought me to it, but
Hmm.
actually, I do know what brought me to it. Anyway, Empire Strikes Back, the whole thing is Luke meeting Yoda, right?
Yeah.
And getting the training. That's what this has felt a bit like. Luke at that stage, a bit like, woo, here's the Force or whatever. And I'm not saying that. Whereas you, it's been really nice because obviously, you know, older, wiser, more experienced, and that
Thank
has
you.
been, I felt that, and so I just wanted to sort of express that.
Oh,
That's
you're
been a
so sweet. Yeah. Well, then it's worth being older someday, like older has its perks.
yeah, sure, sure,
If it comes with wisdom, hopefully. Yeah. But thank you for that. I'm enjoying our conversation. On some level, we're the same. It's just the human being dimension deepens, right?
yeah,
But on the
yeah,
awakening level, same.
yeah, beautiful. Well, yeah, just really lovely spending time with you. My heart is very grateful, and yeah,
Oh, and by the way, I just want to say one more thing just about that, is that you contain depths that I don't have. You have experiences and life experiences and revelations and understandings that I'll never have, and vice versa. So on that level too, where there's uniqueness.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Anyway, I just
yeah.
wanted to add
No,
that.
and do you know what? That's a really lovely point, which I think almost brings it full circle, which is that that's why I bang the drum about the stopping self-abandoning work, because it was so big on my path, and yeah, and that, so That's why I bang that drum so much. Anyway,
Yeah.
look, Susanna, just so lovely to spend time with you. I'd love
Yeah,
to do it again.
same.
Maybe at some point I'll release the first one and people can say whether or not, like, how different it was from their point of view, from a viewer point of view. That could be quite interesting. But no, just really really lovely to spend time with you. And yeah, let's chat again. I would love that. It
I
was
would
just,
love that. I'm sure something else will come forward that is interesting to you and
yeah.
love to
Okay. All
explore.
right.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right.
Be
Lots
well,
of love.
everybody.